buckle in, everyone. Renee might make this a 4-hour long podcast.
I'm gonna try and mute myself as often as possible because I'm gonna start right now. Go ahead, Jace.
Okay.
I'm excited.
We're going to start with a little non-spoiler stuff since this movie just came to streaming. So hopefully, if you hadn't seen it, you're watching it. And then we'll get into the spoilers. But to start off, I really liked this movie the first time I saw it. And then I loved it after rewatching it. Like the second viewing was so much better than the first time. And I think it's mainly because so much stuff is happening in this movie that there's like a whole other movie of just things I missed in the first watch.
Yeah, that you don't know to look for and that later you catch. And they're all like they're just every little detail that is in this movie really just makes you go, wow, what a genius. Like all these things are just, they're like cute, like fucking Kubrick. I always know. Kubrick? I don't fucking know how to say it.
Kubrick.
Kubrick. But it's like, people go over like details in his shit and say that like, oh, he faked the moon landing. Like, that just feels like crazy, but I feel like with Jordan Peele, I'm like, I'm doing the same shit because it's like I've watched this way more than twice, but every time I watch it, I notice something new and different and just like incredible. Again, this movie is my favorite movie of all time now. Jaws was, but now this.
Yeah, so I remember you telling me that this movie was Jaws in the sky.
Yeah, basically with a little hint of signs thrown in, but I would say mostly for me, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, and I think that's a really very fair description of the movie because like this movie is so complex that like that's the simplest way to kind of put it. Like,
Yeah.
and in the same way that Jaws is a movie that's not really about the shark,
Mhm.
this is a movie that's not really about the creature. And like the first time around, I was like, oh, this is a movie about, a creature in the sky. We can't really call it an alien because they never really specify if it's an alien. But
I think we can safely assume it's an alien, but
yeah,
yeah, we don't know. I mean, we know that people who claim to have seen like fucking UFOs probably just saw that in this universe, right?
yeah, and it's great. But yeah, like the second time watching it, I was like, oh my God, this is a movie about arrogance
Mhm.
and the consequence of you thinking you know everything or understand everything.
Exactly.
And I did not like that was the second time viewing, and I'm like, whoa, this movie has a lot of stuff going on.
Mhm.
That's why it was so enjoyable the second time around. I'm glad that we're doing this after my second time watching it, not the first time.
Oh, I figured if we were gonna do it like at all that you would have to rewatch it just because one viewing, I think we can both agree is just not enough. You're not gonna That's why I think people are split on the movie, honestly, is
Mhm.
they're like, huh, like I don't know how to take all of that and put it in and like figure out what the fuck was happening because I know like everyone always says Get Out is perfect, but I think it's also like, I think personally, Nope is his masterpiece. I think you're crazy if you don't get that. But Get Out is a little bit more clear and like, here's what I'm trying to say, and here's the metaphor we're making, right?
Mhm.
Versus like Nope has a lot of different things, but like they all go together, but it's kind of not spelled out for you. A lot of it you have to kind of put together, but it helps. Like, I feel like the second watch, everything kind of clicks.
Yeah. Well, and especially when I watched it the first time, I went into it expecting Get Out, or at
Yeah,
least
exactly.
some similarities. And really, the only similarity is Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah.
Am I saying that wrong?
Kaluuya.
Kaluuya.
I love him.
He's so good. So like the whole first watch, I had Get Out in the back of my head, and so I was just kind of thinking of that. And so then the second time around, when I kind of knew everything, I was able to watch it just with its own expectation of it as a movie, not another one. And they are very different movies. They're not even really good at comparing because they're like what they're saying is so different. And yeah, it's so good. It's so interesting. So like if you the listener have not seen it, don't go into it thinking Get Out. Like Get Out is scarier.
I don't know. I think Nope is scarier for me, but that's because aliens are one of my no-nos. I do not like aliens. They freak me the fuck out. Like, I remember when I first saw Signs and I, like, almost had a heart attack. That shit was so terrifying. So, if you don't like aliens, I would say this movie is very scary, and even if we don't get confirmation about aliens in this movie, still freaky. I think it's scarier than Get Out. I think Get Out is definitely scary, but in a different way. More
Yeah.
realistic. This one's more like supernatural scary that I'm like, "Oh, fuck." But not
Mhm.
too supernatural, like, it still feels very grounded.
Yeah. And I think also one thing that I took from Get Out is I think Get Out is paced a little bit quicker. This movie's it's longer. There's just a lot of drawn out moments, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I think just expecting the quickness of Get Out,
Yeah.
and so when I didn't have that, I was able to really just get immersed into this movie. It's a crazy immersive movie.
It's extremely immersive. I cannot recommend, like, any more strongly, like or any more strongly. Like, please watch this on the biggest screen available. This is an experience. This is a fucking spectacle. That's what he said, and that's what the movie is all about, and he fucking wanted to make a spectacle, and Jordan Peele, he fucking did it, man. This movie, I just felt like in the theater, I felt everything. I was very into it. It felt a lot of it like the way that you are, like, in those scenarios with those characters, you kind of feel like you're there in that location with them, and it felt very much like the back half of Jaws, like, you feel like you're on the ocean with those guys when they're hunting the
Mhm.
shark, and it's like it's all filmed on location, like, it looks great. Same with this movie, you just feel like you're fucking at that ranch with them the whole time, and it's like it was very, like, immersive. I recommend seeing it as large of a screen as possible.
Well, especially for the climax at the end.
Yes.
Biggest screen possible for that.
Yeah, as always. But yeah, don't fuck with your like if your expectations are crazy out of whack, in general, you're gonna hate every movie that you see. So just I also wasn't expecting what this movie is, but like Jaws is my favorite movie of all time, and I fucking love now this is my favorite movie of all time. So just saying, like, if you just go in with open mind and say, like, Jordan Peele hasn't done this before, but what the fuck? Why not? Just go along for the ride. Go watch it. We're gonna talk spoilers now.
We're gonna do it now. Spoiler warning.